based on a popular video game, Five Nights at Freddy's has expanded out to a full-on franchise with other media, lots of merch, and now its first live-action adaptation. But you don't need to totally geek out on all of it. That is why we're here. This is everything you need to know before you go see Five Nights at Freddy's.
Tell me how to stop this.
So we've got 5 quick topics for Five Nights at Freddy's. Pun intended. A brief history of the video game, a look at the animatronic characters, and also the human characters, plus what the movie is about, and a look at its journey and who made it all happen. Oh, it all began with the first video game of the same title, created by Scott Cawthon and released in August of 2014. I always thought it's a little eerie that his last name rhymes with coffin, but I mean, listen, he found his niche. The gameplay for it includes users taking on the role of nighttime security guard Mike Schmidt as he defends himself against cursed animatronics, which you gotta admit is just pretty genius because there's no way that you walked into Chuck E. Cheese's and weren't spooked by that feathery bird one or the dog with the banjo. The game also includes things like a camera system, doors with lights, and the previous night guard known as Phone Guy. And now, just 9 short years later, there is a total of 9 main series games, along with 6 spin-off games, and that doesn't even include the fan versions that Cawthon himself has helped fund and publish. And as I mentioned, along with this movie, the games have also spawned a novel trilogy, a series of short stories, and some graphic novels. And don't forget about the plethora of merchandise. I mean, you're totally gonna want a t-shirt after you learn about the animatronics. Also, this is a killer Halloween costume idea if you want to dress up with your friends. Now, speaking of the Tronics, Five Nights at Freddy's, which centers around a now shuttered pizza place called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, features 4 main animatronic characters, aka the band. Now, of course, there is the frontman, Freddy Fazbear himself, generally wearing a top hat and a tie, looking oh so chic. Then you got backup singer Chica, who's a chicken wearing a yellow bib, and she has a side snack named Mr. Cupcake, which don't we all, am I right? I'm talking about food here. And then there's the guitar-playing bunny named Bonnie, and the red pirate fox named, naturally, Foxy, who has an eye patch and a hook hand. I mean, who wouldn't want to host their kid's birthday there? Insert uncomfortable laugh here. Now, in the games, the animatronics start to take on more freaky iterations, which also seems likely here, especially because the trailer shows these animatronics to be kid-possessed. Of course, the games have introduced more scary animatronics and other Freddy Fazbear locations, which could be good material for some sequels, which have actually been teased at. But now it's time for us to talk about the boring old humans. Although it is good to see our friend Josh Hutcherson again. So he's the one playing the previously mentioned nighttime security guard, Mike Schmidt. Not to be confused with the 80s baseball player for the Phillies, by the way. Not that you would, but there's probably someone out there that's thinking about it. Anyways, you may remember Josh from the Hunger Games movies as J-Law's little bro / lover ? And from what we can tell from the Five Nights at Freddy's trailers, he's pretty good at screaming, so he's gonna be great. Joining Mike Schmidt is his little sister Abby, played by the young Piper Rubio. Now, this is a bit of a left turn from the games, which doesn't feature a young protagonist until the 4th installment, so this could be a nod to that. Or, after the success of The Last of Us, people have basically learned and loved that it always raises the stakes to have a kid along for the ride. Also appearing in human form is Matthew Lillard, bringing that horror movie veteran presence to the film, given his performance in the first Scream. Scream, by the way, is my Roman Empire, for those of you wondering.
I'll be right back.
So Lillard is listed as playing someone named Steve Raglan, which is most likely a false identity. But I'm personally excited to see what happens with his character because, you know, Scooby-Doo, man, he's so good.
Just another beautiful day in paradise.
Elizabeth Lail from the Netflix show You is playing Vanessa, who we also meet in the trailers. And we know that Mary Stuart Masterson, fried green tomatoes anyone, is playing some sort of villain named Aunt Jane.
Hey, Auntie.
As far as where the story goes, we know that the original story of Mike Schmidt getting hired as an overnight security guard at a closed-down pizza place will be at the core. Of course, he'll discover what's really going on, aka a bunch of crazy animatronics that will literally kill anyone who's still in the building after midnight. And what is it about that time that's just so transformative? I mean, for Mike and Cinderella anyway. But from there, we don't know much more about the story. But since franchise creator Scott Cawthon served as the executive producer and co-writer, there are bound to be some Easter eggs for you hardcore fans. Let's talk about the journey now. Now, the talks of a film began actually back in 2015, not long after the first game dropped. Various directors were attached along the way, including Home Alone's Chris Columbus. But the project eventually made it over to the Blumhouse production company, and Emma Tommy signed on to direct. She also co-wrote it and has seen some horror experience, having directed 2018's The Wind. Now, of course, that move meant that Jason Blum was a producer on this one, a guy who has his hand in so many great horror projects. And by the way, if you didn't know this, Five Nights at Freddy's is actually rated PG-13, which can make horror a bit more challenging, but it's definitely doable, especially with this kind of brain power behind the scenes. So, my friends, that is everything you need to know before you go see Five Nights at Freddy's in theaters, and it's streaming on Peacock on October 27th, just in time for Halloween. My name is Naz Perez, and thanks for watching this video. Be sure to check out our other Know Before You Go episodes so you're all ready to go before you head to the theater. And as always, be sure to rate and review this film at RottenTomatoes.com. We love knowing how you feel and think.